Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Cutting Room 101, and this week's topic was chosen by Tyler from Cali Critic Reviews, and he thought that since J. Edgar is being released this week, that we should talk about our favorite biopic film. I had a tough time choosing between Catch Me If You Can and Ed Wood, but in the end I'm deciding to review Ed Wood. Ed Wood is directed by Tim Burton, and Johnny Depp takes on the role of Ed Wood, and Ed Wood is known to be the worst director of all time. So if you haven't heard of Ed Wood or seen the movie, you might be wondering why this would be such a good film if it's about the worst director of all time, but you'd be very surprised. First off, this movie is in black and white, so it has a lot of shadows, but they're able to take those shadows and create metaphors with them, as well as its metaphorical composition, make this a great movie to look at in terms of cinematography, but it has more going for it than just that. The acting is great all around, but Johnny Depp obviously steals the show as Ed Wood, and what I like about the character of Ed Wood, or should I say just the person of Ed Wood and who he is that he doesn't really get offended. He doesn't really care what people say about his movies, even though everybody tells them they're bad. And he does kind of get hurt by that, but he continues to persevere, he continues to push on and try and make more movies, but this also is his downfall in the end. And since he didn't listen to what people say, he continues to make bad movies, and if he would have kind of paid attention to what people were saying as he was making these movies, he could have had a better chance of making a better movie, but instead he just keeps going on, which happens to be what makes this movie so funny. I mean, there are scenes in this movie where it shows characters bumping into these walls, and the walls will move on camera, so it shows that they're obviously fake, but Ed Wood just does not care, and he wants to keep moving on, and he just, whatever happens, he just thinks it's perfect and that it's going to make for a great movie. And in Ed Wood's head, it's the big picture that counts, not the little things, and it just makes for some truly funny scenes. I've always enjoyed watching those cheesy sci-fi 50s horror movies just because of their campiness and how funny they can be, and like I said, how cheesy they can be. And if you like those kinds of movies, you have to check out Ed Wood. And just from the opening, I knew I was gonna love this movie, and I did, and it's now become one of my favorite biopics. Now, Plan 9 from Outer Space has become a cult classic, mainly because of how bad this movie is. It's one of the worst movies of all time, but it's also one of the funniest, unintentionally bad movies ever made. In Plan 9 from Outer Space, every time you see the flying saucers, you can see the string that is holding the flying saucers up in midair. And what I love about Tim Burton's movie is that he shows that actually happening in that film. In Tim Burton's movie, you see Ed Wood just literally dangling a flying saucer in front of the camera, and it just had me cracking up. There are so many great and memorable scenes in this film. If Ed Wood didn't have all the humor that's in it, I think it actually would have been a pretty depressing movie just because he can't make a good movie, and a lot of people hate him and hate his movies, and each movie he keeps on trying, he just cannot make a good movie for the life of him. But Johnny Depp completely sells it and makes him a likable character, and with all the humor involved, it's really hard not to enjoy yourself. If you want to check these movies out, I'm pretty sure Tim Burton's movie is on Netflix, but I'm not sure about Ed Wood's original movies. But you can pick those up on Amazon if you like to. That's what I did. For 30 bucks, you get this nice box set, and it contains all 5 of his movies, as well as an extra disc that tells more about Ed Wood's life. And here's the Ed Wood movie by Tim Burton. And they're perfect companion pieces. It's pretty cool to watch Ed Wood's original movies and then see Tim Burton's vision and just compare the two and see how those movies were made. It's really interesting, and like I said, it makes for a good time. Ed Wood has become one of my favorite Tim Burton movies, as well as one of my favorite performances by Johnny Depp. So like the movie says, if you want to find out the frightening truth behind one of the worst directors of all time, Ed Wood, check this film out. I don't think you'll be disappointed. So that's one of my favorite biopics of all time, and if you like this channel, please subscribe, and also if you haven't checked out my main channel, FilmRecall, you can click the link below and check that out if you like to, and subscribe if you want to. And stay tuned tomorrow to hear from Anthony from The Random Mind on his favorite biopic of all time. See you then.